Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Sunday, June 11th, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at Pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Sunday in Major League Baseball. First up, it's the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Detroit Tigers. We're going to see Zach Gallen and Joey Wentz on the mound. And this one, I mentioned the Diamondbacks are improving their numbers against left-handed pitchers. And we saw Joey Wentz really struggle in his last game against the Philadelphia Phillies. He was giving up a lot of sharp contact in that start. 5 earned runs and 2 homers in the final line in 4 2/3 innings. 5 walks to go with it as well is also concerning. Wentz got a 7.49 ERA. A little bit better numbers at Comerica Park, but still 0-2 at 6.6 ERA in 30 innings at home. Zach Gallen on the other side, it's tough to go against him. Even though he has not been as good on the road as he has been at Chase Field, I still think he's good enough here against a weak Tigers lineup against righties. So give me the Arizona Diamondbacks here on the run line. Next up, it's the Washington Nationals taking on the Atlanta Braves. We're going to see Trevor Williams and Bryce Elder on the mound in this one. I do think the Braves take care of business in this game. Trevor Williams, 4.15 ERA. I've mentioned he's given the Nationals some really important innings this season, but he's still not my favorite starting pitcher to back. He doesn't really miss a lot of bats, only 46 strikeouts in 60 2/3 innings this year. And now he's starting to get some issues with a home run ball. We've seen him give up at least 1 home run in each of his last 4 starts, including 5 home runs combined in his last 3 outings, and he hasn't really pitched too deep into ball games usually around 5 to 6 innings at the most. His last start, 6 base hits, 4 earned runs, and 2 homers, 4 walks to the Philadelphia Phillies, and 11-3 Nationals loss. And that's the thing, even if Williams pitches decent in this game, the Nationals bullpen has been one of the worst in baseball all season, certainly in the last 30 days, where they have the highest Sierra, one of the highest ERAs as well. Against this Atlanta Braves team, it's just such a powerful lineup against righties, against lefties. It's tough to have a lot of faith in the Nationals pitching staff in this one. And Bryce Elder, although his last start wasn't his best, he still gave the Braves 6 innings. He still had 8 strikeouts, and the Braves still got the W in his start, 6-4 over the Mets. So I'm going to take the Atlanta Braves here and lay the 1.5 runs. Next up, it's the Kansas City Royals taking on the Baltimore Orioles. We're going to see Kyle Gibson going for Baltimore. No official starter for the Royals right now. I do think the Orioles take this game. It's not my favorite game on the board right now, especially with no information for the Royals in terms of their starting pitcher. But I do think the Royals are going to have to depend on their bullpen quite a bit in this one. Hasn't been the best bullpen this season, right around league average in terms of their expected numbers in the last 30 days. But, Kyle Gibson's been pitching pretty well at Camden Yards this season. He's 3-2 with a 3.38 ERA and 29 1/3 innings at home, compared to an ERA above 4 on the road. So I think Gibson's good enough here. The Royals have decent power numbers against righties, and they do make pretty good sharp contact, against lefties and righties this season, but their strikeout rate is a little bit too high at 25.1%. Their OPS is also low. It's ranked 25th in baseball in the last 30 days. So just give me the Orioles here. I'll lay the 1.5 runs in a lean. Next up, it's the New York Mets taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Carlos Carrasco and Mitch Keller are your starters. It's tough to know what we're going to see from Mitch Keller, as he has struggled in his last few starts. We saw him give up 6 earned runs against the Mariners, 4 earned runs against the Giants, and then 5 more earned runs against the Oakland A's of all teams in his last start. Overall, Mitch Keller's having a good season. He's 7-2 with a 3.6 ERA. But on the other side, you also got Carlos Carrasco, who's not in the best form either. The Mets bullpen has also struggled the last week or so. And Carrasco, his last outing, 4 earned runs, a homer, and only 5 innings of work against the Braves. You could take the over in this game, with 2 pitchers not in the best of form. But I still think there's some value with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Mitch Keller has been better at PNC Park this season than he has been on the road, with an ERA at 3.05 at home, 38 1/3 innings with 39 strikeouts. I do think Pittsburgh takes this one. The Mets have just been really struggling away from Citi Field. I'm going to take a lean here with the over and the Pittsburgh Pirates on the money line. Next up, we see the Minnesota Twins taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. We're going to see Louis Varland and Kevin Gausman on the mound. And this one, Kevin Gausman, he's been so good at Rogers Center this season. Overall, this year he's got a 2.63 ERA with 113 strikeouts. But at home, a 43 2/3 innings, 62 strikeouts, opponent's batting average below 200, and a 1.65 ERA. Against the Minnesota Twins, an offense has just been very inconsistent. They strike out quite a bit, and they're missing Byron Buxton. I just can't back Minnesota here. Louis Varland just faced these Blue Jays not too long ago. Both pitchers did. Gausman pitched well in his start, but Varland back on May 26th, 6 innings, 3 runs, but 2 home runs in that game, and that was enough for the Blue Jays to grab a 3-1 victory. Varland also didn't miss many bats in that start, only 3 strikeouts in those 6 innings, so it was a quality start, but not good enough. We know Varland really struggled in his last game on the road against Tampa Bay, 7 earned runs and 2 homers. I'm going to take the Blue Jays here and lay the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Houston Astros taking on the Cleveland Guardians. We're going to see Shane Bieber and Brandon Bielak on the mound in this one. I like the over in this game. Shane Bieber, although he's been better at Progressive Field than he has been on the road, he has still not been able to miss a lot of bats both on the road and at home this season. Only 55 strikeouts and a total of 80 2/3 innings of work. That's really concerning for me. I would consider Bieber a couple years ago a strikeout-dependent starter. So, like I said, his numbers in terms of his ERA are solid at Progressive Field, but I do expect those numbers to regress as the season continues, facing an Astros team that has really improved their numbers against right-handed pitchers offensively in the last 30 days or so. When we look at Houston, they're top 15 in both team OPS and isolated power against those righties with a decent strikeout rate and a decent walk rate. So I think they get to Bieber, but I also don't really love Bielak in this start. The Guardians, last year, really solid lineup against right-handed pitchers. This season, slow start to the year, but their team that limits strikeouts at the plate. We're seeing Jose Ramirez start to wake up a little bit at the dish. Bielak, his last start, he gave up 10 base hits in only 6 2/3 innings. He only gave up 3 runs. It was a quality start on paper, but he also had a lot of run support in that game. So I don't like him in this spot on the road. Give me the over here with a lean towards the Astros in this one. Next up, we see the Tampa Bay Rays hosting the Texas Rangers. Martin Perez and Shane McClanahan are your starters. Not only do I think McClanahan is the much better starting pitcher in this matchup, but I also can't ignore the home and road splits for Martin Perez this season. In 25 2/3 innings at home this year, he owns a 3-0 record with a 1.4 ERA, but on the road in 42 1/3, 5.53 ERA this season with a 306 opponent's batting average and 10 home runs allowed, 16 walks to go with it. I think the Rays get to Perez early and often in this game, a lineup that's hit lefties very well this season. Both of these bullpens not my favorite, but I think McClanahan's going to have the potential to go deeper in this ballgame. Give the Rays 6-7 innings. I think it's enough for a Rays win and a run line cover. So give me the Tampa Bay Rays laying those 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Miami Marlins taking on the Chicago White Sox. Braxton Garrett and Lucas Giolito are your starters. Lucas Giolito has pitched very well at Guaranteed Rate Field this season. The Marlins have hit lefties much better than they've hit righties this year, and the White Sox, they've hit lefties much better than they've hit righties the last few years, including this season. Braxton Garrett, his last start was not his best. He gave 4 earned runs in 5 innings of work, 6 base hits against the Kansas City Royals, and he still missed some bats. He had 6 strikeouts in that game, and overall, he's pitched pretty well for the Marlins since his really bad start against the Atlanta Braves on May 3rd. But with the White Sox hitting lefties very well, being the home team in this matchup with a strong starting pitching option in Giolito, who I mentioned pitches well at home with a 2.7 ERA, I got to take the White Sox in this game. So give me Chicago on the money line. Next up, we see the Oakland Athletics taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. J.P. Sears and Freddie Peralta on the mound in this one. Now, we know the Brewers struggle against left-handed pitchers. When you look in the last 30 days, a 27.7% strikeout rate is 5th highest in baseball. They're 26th in team OPS. They are 23rd in isolated power. And J.P. Sears, since May 14th, so about a month, has pitched really, really good baseball. I mean, he's not given up more than 2 earned runs in a single start since that game against the Yankees on May 8th. So I think Sears pitches well in this game. And Freddie Peralta has had much better numbers at home this season than he has on the road. On the road, a 6.04 ERA, but at home, a 4-2 record with a 3.41 ERA. 44 strikeouts in 37 innings. We know the Oakland A's not the best lineup. They've improved a little bit over the last week or so, but Peralta should pitch well after a nice start against the Baltimore Orioles last time out, where he had 9 strikeouts and 5 innings of work. Give me the under in the first 5 innings. Don't trust either of these bullpens, especially Oakland's, so give me the under in the first 5. Next up, we see the Cincinnati Reds taking on St. Louis Cardinals. Hunter Greene and Adam Wainwright are your projected starters. I think Cincinnati competes in this game. Adam Wainwright just hasn't been the same starting pitcher this year, where he's got just below a 6 ERA this year, 5.97. His last start was okay against the Rangers, 5 1/3 innings, but he still gave up 8 base hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, and only 3 strikeouts, and that was still a St. Louis Cardinals loss. The Cardinals have lost each of his last 2 games now, and Hunter Greene's been pitching well this year. He's got that 1-4 record, but the reason why win-loss record is irrelevant in baseball, a sub-4 ERA with great strikeout numbers, 88 Ks and 62 innings of work. His last start against the Red Sox at Fenway Park, we know a very tough place to pitch, especially for a guy who has issues giving up home run balls. But 6 innings, no home runs, only 1 earned run with 8 strikeouts. He's had at least 8 strikeouts in each of his last 4 starts. I think he keeps his team in this game. So give me the Cincinnati Reds plus the 1.5 runs. I'll sprinkle a little bit on the money line of plus money. Next up, we see the Colorado Rockies taking on the San Diego Padres with Blake Snell and Dinelson Lamet on the mound. And this one, Lamet has really struggled. I thought his last start against the Giants was a good spot for him to put together a decent outing, but he really struggled in that game. 3 innings, 6 base hits, 2 walks, 3 earned runs, and a lot of those hits were extra base hits for doubles for the Giants. That was in a 10-4 Rockies loss. The Rockies aren't playing great baseball as of late, and they got a lefty on the other side, and Blake Snell. We know the Rockies have struggled against lefties this season in the last 30 days as well, and Blake Snell is in good form going into this start. 12 innings in his last 2 games against the Marlins and Cubs, 15 strikeouts, no earned runs. You can go before that, those 2 starts, to the game against the Washington Nationals. 5 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts. So he's missing bats. He hasn't given up a home run since May 19th, and he's not giving up a lot of earned runs to begin with. So even at Coors Field, I think Snell pitches well. I think the Padres bats are really going to back him up. So give me the San Diego Padres on the run line. In our next game, we see the Seattle Mariners taking on the Los Angeles Angels. Bryce Miller and Griffin Canning are your projected starters. Bryce Miller just not in good enough form for me to want to back him in this start. He's given up 15 earned runs and 19 base hits with 3 homers in his last 2 games combined. 4 2/3 against the Yankees and 2 1/3 against the Rangers. A 10-4 loss and a 12-3 loss for the Mariners. The Angels have hit righties very well this year. I think they'll be able to get to Bryce Miller. Griffin Canning, a 4.47 ERA, but his last few starts he's been really sharp. Back-to-back, actually 3 straight quality starts for Griffin Canning and 3 straight Angels wins in those ball games. 7 innings of shutout ball against the Red Sox, 6 innings, 3-run ball against the White Sox, and then 6 innings, 1-run ball against the Houston Astros in a 2-1 win. Give me the Los Angeles Angels here on the money line. Next up, we see the Chicago Cubs taking on the San Francisco Giants. Hayden Wesneski going for Chicago. No official starter for the Giants right now. We've seen that a few times in the past week or so for the Giants that they're dealing with some injuries in their rotation, and they've utilized their bullpen. They've had a few bullpen games, and their bullpen's been one of the best in baseball in the last 30 days, ERA and expected number-wise. So I do think the Giants pitching staff will be fine in this game. I think they're going to back up, the pitchers in this one offensively. As Hayden Wesneski, 4.72 ERA this season. His last start wasn't the best, 4 2/3 innings, 4 total runs allowed. Only 2 of those were earned, so his defense didn't really help him out. But a home run as well in a 7-4 game. And the big thing is the Cubs' offense has just not been great as of late, really in the last month or so. That's one of the big reasons why Wesneski in his last 5 starts, the Cubs are 0-5 on the money line in those games, even though he only gave up more than 2 earned runs once in those 5 starts. So I don't like the Cubs' offense in this one, especially at a pitcher-friendly ballpark. I think the Giants do enough offensively to grab the win. Give me San Francisco on the money line at Oracle Park. And the final game for Sunday's card in Major League Baseball, it's the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. Brian Bayo and Clark Schmidt are your starters. I'm going to take the under in the first 5 innings in this one. I like both of these starting pitchers in this matchup. 2 offenses that have really good starts to the year, but haven't been the best as of late, especially Aaron Judge out of the lineup. Yankees offense just not the same. Brian Bayo is a guy who keeps the ball on the ground. He's got a really good ground ball to fly ball ratio this year. He did so last year as well. He pitched well at Yankee Stadium and against the Yankees in general in 2022, where in 11 innings of work, he had a .82 ERA. Clark Schmidt in his last 4 starts, 3 earned runs or fewer in all 4 of those ball games. He's missing bats. He's got 66 strikeouts and 61 2/3 innings this season. Give me the under in the first 5 in this big-time rivalry. And that's it. Those are the games for Sunday in Major League Baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.